Hey everyone, welcome back to the new episode of the Dreamers podcast. Today I have Alex, aka DUMBDAYS, here with me. If you want to kind of go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yo, what up? I'm Alex. Run Dumb Days. Grateful to be here. Thank you for asking me to come on.
All right, so just for those that don't know, what is DUMBDAYS and kind of can you explain to the audience kind of what you do and the type of art you create?
Yeah, so as kind of an entertainment brand, we kind of function as like, video production, music discovery, kind of like everything, but like what we're trying to grow it to be is just kind of like an idea, and that stands as its own entertainment brand. But me myself, I direct music videos, edit music videos. I do like one man army kind of situations. Um, so as I run Dumb Days, so I'm the editor. I do mixed media. Like I literally like I have too many hats kind of scenario. But yeah, that's kind of what we are.
So then, I mean, I guess starting off, how did that interest grow from that? I'm assuming a lot of people I've talked to in the past that have done interviews really love, just films in
Yeah.
general and filmmaking. But I mean, you also do a lot of stuff with like Blender and 3D modeling, the mixed media stuff that we'll get into later. So, kind of, can you talk about how, I guess, your history as just an artist in general and kind of how you got from where you started to where you are today?
Yeah. So I'm 24 now. I've always like we talked about this before, but like I'm from born and raised South Florida. Growing up, like I always loved like entertaining and telling stories and making stories, drawing. Like even though I was horrible at it. But like I have vivid memories of like when I was 8 years old, like taking my mom's. So this isn't it, but like this is like her mom's home video, like VHS camera, mini cassette, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like recording literally everything. Like I just love the idea of like viewing things behind a lens and like having it be like a piece of thing. Like I would literally record myself like watching YouTube videos like that. There's no, it's just
Mm-hmm.
weird. Um, so I always loved that, and then I always loved YouTube. Like I remember someone showing me YouTube when it first came out, like literally when it first came out, and that blew my mind. And so I got into like making like stop motion things like with Bionicles. That was like the first thing I ever did. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have a YouTube channel which is still out there. You could like people could find it where like I used to make my own Bionicles and make like horrible stop motion videos to them and like full short films and all that kind of stuff. And that branched into like animation and like the first way I got into music videos was making like AMVs, like animated music videos, like for
Mm-hmm.
like Naruto and shit like that. And like I loved like Linkin Park and like combining that and like just like weird shit. And then it grew into like once I got into like middle school and high school, like getting more serious, but like trying to become a director because I always knew it's like what I wanted to do. Like I knew for a fact there was nothing else I was interested in. Like I
Uh-huh.
had to do that, and like I always said like if I didn't make it doing that, like I literally had no idea what I would want to do. And I had like an amazing family that would always support that and believed in that crazy idea. Um, and then so I took it more serious in high school and like wanted to make movies, and I made movies like short films. And then I went to film school here in LA, which is really cool. And during that, I kind of this is before I started Dumb Days. I was making short films, making like horror thriller kind of things, like what I love too, and just kind of doing that and following that kind of trajectory of trying to become a director for
Mm-hmm.
movies. Um, and then COVID hit, kind of flipped my whole plan around, and then I started Dumb Days. So here we are. But long story short, I just always wanted to make shit like whatever it would be. Like I just wanted to create. So
I think for a lot of people, COVID kind of, you know, changed the trajectory of a lot of
yeah,
people's, life and, what they were doing for good and worse. Um, but I mean, kind of want to, since he's kind of there behind you, if you want to talk about your little character,
Steve.
mascot, kind of,
Yeah,
yeah,
watching.
how you came up with him and I guess kind of what he symbolizes for the company.
Yeah, I mean, like I've always like I knew like going into especially in like last years of college that like the way I wanted to approach, going down this road of trying to become a filmmaker in whatever capacity was I wanted a brand. I loved the idea of a brand that had like a character to attach. It's like a mascot in a sense
Mm-hmm.
because like obviously like and too like social media these days like having a face behind a brand is so important. And like if you
Mm-hmm.
look at like the Dumb Days content, like I haven't really ever shown my face. Like I don't hide it, but like it's not,
Mm-hmm.
Dumb Days supposed to be a bigger idea than just myself. So Steve kind of came about in the early stages, like a year, like, I mean, the brand's almost about to hit 2 years, like a few months into the making of it, where I just like had this idea for a character named Steve who kind of represented um, the idea of being dumb, which is just like chasing your creative passions in whatever
Mm-hmm.
capacity. And so like, if you go down on the DUMBDAYS page, you'll see like there's some disgusting variations of Steve, that like he looks totally different than he does now. But it was just a kind of way to represent the idea and like kind of like to embody like, your inner child and also just like creativity in general into one person. And there's a lot of like, I haven't gotten too much in detail like in the brand of like who Steve is, who Steve is and the lore behind that. But it's something I definitely want to get into more now, which we have a few plans for that, which is cool. But yeah, essentially just a way to express like what it means, and like he's the person that
Mm-hmm.
like you want to be like, and like they've come to this world, they've come to Earth to bring this dumbness, and that's kind of their passion, almost like minions, like literally minions. It's a
Uh-huh.
great way to describe it. But no, I just always love the idea of like expressing stuff like through a character and having the brand behind the character. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of times that face behind a brand or like a personification of a brand in some way
yeah.
is pretty important. That's something I'm kind of hoping to introduce soon. Like I have a character that I got designed for merch,
Oh
and
really?
I'm trying to
Oh yeah.
figure out how I want to use that character. I don't want to say too much because maybe it'll just be a T-shirt and
Right.
stuff will
Yeah.
completely change. But I've had that since like March, and I'm still trying to figure out how I want to integrate it. But hopefully, anybody listening, watching, you'll see more of that character soon.
That's
Um,
cool.
yeah, I think the face behind a brand, and I do like watching all the little, whether it be for like your T-shirt drop, like the little, videos you make with like Steve and like the characters kind of going around in the real world. And I think it's kind of fun, and can't wait to see how you kind of build on that and explore that more in
Thank
the
you.
future.
Yeah.
But I mean, talking about that, you did just have kind of a little test drop, little merch drop, where I think you
Mhm.
dropped a T-shirt and a couple posters.
Yeah.
Can you kind of talk about that experience, and then what other plans you can talk about that you might have for the future?
Yeah, like merchant, like making merchant clothing is super interesting to me because I love like vintage designs and like weird ass designs, like this like a Cole Bennett shirt of like a clown, like low poly clown. And like
Uh-huh.
I've always wanted to get into that, like make cool stuff and not just like slapping our logo on a t-shirt on like the cheapest quality shirt, like making cool stuff
Mm-hmm.
that like you had no idea what the brand was, you just saw that and you're like, oh, that's a cool shirt. And like I could, like anyone that kind of is in this world or has a nostalgic kick of like Nintendo and GameCube and like all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
sort of feeling with like. So the test drop was just kind of a way to test, even so more internally for me, like the process of like actually making a shirt, like finding a good quality blank, like finding a manufacturer and going through that process and trying to make sure like it's something that's really cool. And the animation was really cool because I've always kind of wanted to do like something like that where it's kind of like almost like a short film animation. So that was kind of like a way to tease like the lore behind it, where it's like, yeah, we're testing it, we're just making this shirt, but like, there's kind of a like a world behind it where like if you
Mm-hmm.
like in the animation, it's like Steve like is going to movie theater and there's a no shirt policy, so they have to make a shirt to go to this movie theater. And so like that was a fun way, but like the merch side of the thing is kind of something we really want to expand soon, and like we're actually going to release another one soon that like kind of comes in waves, but also like collab with other artists and other creators, to kind of like make Steve and their style or make something from the brand in their style and like collab on that,
Mm-hmm.
have that be a thing too. But always have the focus of like quality and like good stuff, cool stuff. Um, that's kind of the focus. But yeah, that's something I love to get more into. Like I have like so many designs. It's just a matter of
Mm-hmm.
like figuring out like, the best way to roll about it. So
So yeah, the production side, and especially like wanting to make something that's good quality, the colors look good, the t-shirt quality is nice,
yeah,
is tough. I mean, like I said, I have that merch design that I've kind of been sitting on because I really want to make sure the the clothing is good, the design doesn't just look like the character on a t-shirt. Like I want
right,
it to look like a design rather than just an image. If that makes sense.
yeah,
But then I also want to work on the packaging experience. Like I have a few
mm,
ideas that I've kind of worked on just to like little freebies that people can have. And so hopefully I was trying to get that done by the end of the summer, but hopefully sometime in the next couple months I'll drop that because I really want like some kind of physical product. I don't have any kind of, I don't even have stickers or anything yet. And that's something I definitely hope to get into more very soon, because I mean I'm not like super huge into fashion, but I mean I do really love a lot of like, I guess, underground brands, online brands.
yeah,
I buy clothes from a lot of the artists I like, so I kind of want to get into that world myself. Um, But then, I mean, to kind of go back to you talking about music videos, can you,
Mm.
I guess, kind of talk about your process when with like approaching artists and how that usually goes? Like, how much do they have a say? Do you have a say? And kind of just talk about that process.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think, I mean, obviously, it really depends artists in terms of like who, like how much say they have, or like I love collaboration. It was always a thing. But the kind of way we approach videos is it has changed a lot recently. It used to be like in the beginning, like me like just shooting my shot in DMs, saying like, hey, like, and this is like when I first moved to LA after I graduated like 2 years ago. Like, hey, I got all this equipment, like I'll do video for free, like just take a chance. And so, you know, and I
Mm-hmm.
had like things underneath my portfolio, but like not as dumb days, like that was not a thing yet. So that was kind of it, like approaching artists that I really loved and not worrying about the budget and just being like, I just love this song. Like if I love this song, I'm gonna try my best in the edit, like because I want to. Um, but now it's kind of a thing where we kind of just like find things naturally. Like obviously there's certain artists that like I really love and like I'll like reach out to and just like, hey, I love what you're doing. But when it comes to like having a video, like we'll ask occasionally, but more it's like I want to be a natural thing where like they want it. Because I think especially more so now, like we are really honing in on like the style of our videos. So like
Mm-hmm.
if people want that, like if they want a video from us, they kind of like not that they need to have that style, but like that's what we're gonna do. Like we're not gonna obviously every song is different and like I operate on like I love this stuff, but I also love like more cinematic, beautiful stuff. But um, it's awesome when an artist like understands what we do and understands our process and understands that
Mm-hmm.
like gives us kind of creative control. And like I love collaboration too, but there is something where especially on the low budget stuff where there's kind of like do your thing. That's like the best thing
Mm-hmm.
where it's kind of they trust you and like I trust them and like we just do make something awesome together. Um, and so that's kind of been the recent thing where just kind of like these natural relationships that are formed in this community here.
So, I mean, you talked about kind of having your own signature style. And I mean, from, looking at your page and stuff, I mean, you have a big emphasis lately on like mixed media.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually kind of how I found you was through, I think I got recommended like a TikTok video um, talking about like your mixed media tutorial. And I just thought that was
Yeah,
really cool because I love it when people, make tutorials and, don't, I guess, gatekeep information,
yeah,
just
right,
kind of let people be creative because, there can be 100 people that do mixed media, but that doesn't mean they do it like you or, you do
exactly.
it like them. So I really like that kind of, sharing the knowledge and stuff. And I, just reached out and then, now here we are. So I think it's important to not, you know, pester people and like, DM 50 people a day, but like, if you genuinely like an artist and you're like, hey, I would love to work with you on this or do this if you're interested, not like pressure someone, but I think there's a lot, like the world is smaller, is one thing I've realized.
Yeah,
Kind of doing these podcasts, like I didn't know anybody, and now I've, just from mainly reaching out to people, I've been able to get a ton of interviews and stuff. So that's one thing I would also recommend to people,
absolutely.
whether you want to make music videos or album covers or whatever. Just reach out to people, and the worst they can say is no, or just not even see the message. So
No,
there's
literally,
not
yeah.
really any there's not really any harm.
No, I was gonna say the same thing because I totally agree on that. Where it's just like ask if you're providing value in whatever it is. Like people will say yes more often than you think, and like that's really like I think I learned too. Like what you said was exactly right.
So, and I also like you brought up talking kind of about your portfolio. Like,
Mm,
if you do, you don't have to do 10 free music videos, but if you do one or two and, someone sees it, they'll be like, oh, hey, I really like this. And then that can,
exactly,
snowball and snowball. And then now you're getting paid a good amount of money to do a music video just because you did, one or two for free.
exactly right.
So, I mean, kind of talking about that, I mean, the tutorial in itself, um, I guess what made you want to make that tutorial on mixed media?
Um, I mean, I mean, like back in I think it was like February and March, like our TikTok kind of blew up from our make one of the mixed video videos, and like I would get flooded in DMs like about like how to do that, how to make it, like how to how to go about that whole process. And
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of thought like it'd be useful to have like a full video on it, and kind of like you were saying too, like gatekeeping. Like I really hate gatekeeping. I think gatekeeping is just the biggest. Like if you gatekeep, like that just means you're really insecure with your art because as
Mm-hmm.
what you said yourself, where it's like, I can show someone how to do something, but that does not mean they're going to do it the way I do it, and I'm not going to do it the way they do it. Because it's something I learned also in film school, where like we people are very like gatekeeping their ideas in terms of like and I guess like also hiding their ideas, which makes sense. People do steal ideas, but like
Mm-hmm.
one of my good friends gave me the advice where it's like someone can take your idea, but they can never do it in the way that you will from your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of really believe that with art, and like especially with mixed media, where it's like people would gatekeep the fuck out of that. And the way I learned was from one of my great friends, Angel Orozco, is an amazing director, mixed media artist. Um, he showed me like I always want to do animation, but he showed me like the physical components that would require for me to do it myself, because
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to get into it, but I didn't know how, because there wasn't like there were tutorials out there, but there wasn't the way I wanted to do one of them. So part of the tutorial was also that like trying to make something that I would find useful, because
Mm-hmm.
people, I'm sure there's many people like my position that would find the same thing useful. Um, but it really was just like it was like an fu to gatekeeping, because it's like I'm not worried if someone sees this whole video and makes mixed media, like that's awesome. Like, and there were people that
Mm-hmm.
like when the like in that niche TikTok of like videographer, music video editors that like were straight up copying my like the TikTok that went viral of mine, like or viral, but like um to the T of like the same exact thing. People were tagging me like the copy, and I was like, I don't care. like like make your own stuff. It's cool. Like I think it's really awesome,
Mm-hmm.
and like no one will ever approach it in the same way that they do. And if they try to literally copy the work that I do, like they're just not being true to themselves, and that's sad. Like it's not, um, it's just what it is. But yeah, I just thought people would find it useful, and I know it'd be like a cool video, and a cool video for me too. Like if I was a year ago trying to find the process, like I would love to
Mm-hmm.
watch a video like that. And like we're working on like a Blender tutorial now for the same kind of thing, where it's like I'm not an expert in any of this stuff. Like I'm not an expert in mixed media. Like I said in the tutorial, like I'm not an expert in 3D either. Like it's one of like the many things that I do. So like if I were to hone and focus on it and like that is my thing, I'm a mixed media artist, like I would be way better at it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not, like that's not the way I work. So like for my process of someone that does like a lot of things and like uses mixed media as a tool, like here's a tutorial from that perspective. And so we're gonna make a Blender tutorial for the same kind of thing, where it's like how I approach Blender for music videos and my animation, and like I don't live 24/7 on Blender. There are way better Blender artists. There are way better mixed media artists out there than me. But here's how I do it, because like I kind of operate on that kind of like jack of all trades kind of a perspective. But yeah, long story short, I just wanted to make a tutorial because people were asking. I thought it'd be cool, and like I'm not afraid to show the process, because um, like there could be someone that could be the best mixed media artist ever, and it would be really sad if the way they never got there was because no one showed them how. And that's kind of how I
Mm-hmm.
think of it.
Yeah, I think that's important. You said, I think you said like if someone, even if they do copy you exactly, then they're just not being true to themselves.
Yeah,
And so, I mean, I think, obviously learning and, maybe trying to recreate in a sense what you do in the tutorial, not necessarily one for one, but trying to do that to see if you can do that can be helpful. But then, when you're actually trying to, put it out there or something, kind of doing your own thing and, it's just important to try new things and, do stuff that other people don't do and just, whatever, it might not work, it might work awesome. But, just trying is a very important thing.
yeah.
I mean, I love the like anti gatekeeping message. I mean, like if anyone wants to start a podcast, message me. I'll tell you what I use. I'll tell you the
Exactly.
programs,
Yeah.
how my process. Like I've only done like one kind of like behind the scenes, like how I uh, film like months ago, and I'm trying to think of like more like behind the scenes I can do. I'm thinking about maybe soon doing like a live stream of me editing a podcast, just so
Oh, that's
someone can see
awesome.
that it's pretty simple. I'm not trying to like I don't do anything too crazy. I'm no expert editor. Like I learned, like I said, did a podcast for a friend. I didn't know anything about editing, and he just like we got on a call one day, talked for like an hour or two. I did the Premiere Pro like the built-in tutorials on like how to cut stuff and move stuff,
Yeah.
and then that was all I needed for that. And then over time, I've slowly learned more and more, and I have friends that edit, so just kind of being able to learn over time. And I'm still, not incredible, but I can make a podcast and I can, do stuff that I need to do. Um, so I think it's important to just, spread knowledge, try to learn stuff. And then, yeah, Blender tutorials, there's so many for whatever you want to do, whatever you want to make. I've
Yeah,
gotten to Blender a little bit earlier this year, need to get back into it. But yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a tutorial for everything on Blender, any type of thing you want to
literally.
make, realistic PS1 polygon stuff. Like it's crazy. So that'll be cool. And I think there's still a ton of Blender tutorials that can be made. So I'm
Yeah.
interested to see kind of the one you make and how that goes. But then to kind of stay on mixed media, I mean, you also did some posts I know on Instagram that kind of
Mhm.
did really well that involved mixed media. So what was it like kind of seeing the reception to those posts? I want to say one got over like 1 million views or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was like 2 weeks ago. It's kind of crazy because like that was like that. And I think I made a post on our story that kind of talked about that process where it was like that was a mixed media piece that I made back in like February. That was like one of the ones that went viral on TikTok actually. Not the same
Mm-hmm.
exact like clip, like or not same exact like reel. It was same like mixed media animation, but I like re-edited it. Um, and that was really cool. It's really like I kind of like have the perspective of like just like if you know something's cool and like and you're confident and you believe in it, like you should just keep trying to promote it in different ways and like evolve like the way you promote it because like sometimes things don't perform well because whatever stupid reason the algorithm just doesn't like it that day. You didn't like use the right sound, you didn't use enough text, or you didn't built in the app, or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's just like a bad piece of content. Like that's obviously a thing too, and you kind of need to be self-aware to recognize that. But that was one that I had tried to like post on Instagram like five, maybe 7 times throughout the past few months in different ways of showing like doing those reels where it was like kind of more behind the scenes to ones where it was straight up just the animation, and like that was the one I took off where I kind of found a good format for it. But it was cool because it kind of made me realize that it was kind of like that got a lot of love. Like we jumped like 10,000 followers in like a week, which is really cool. The support for that was awesome, and it was overnight too. It was a weird thing where like literally I woke up and it was like it like jumped like 250,000 views out of nowhere, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Um, but but no, it was cool because it just kind of reinforced the idea that it's just like keep promoting your stuff if it's cool. If it's cool and you believe in it, keep promoting it and repurposing it, and don't be like spammy. Be conscious of it and be smart. But like with social media nowadays and content too, it's just kind of like so much can get lost in the noise. So if you feel like you're promoting something and it's not working right and you believe it's really cool, just like keep innovating on that idea and how you present it, because it could just very well just be that like it's you just do something one different way and then boom, it just takes off. That happens.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I had my first, I guess, post go viral on both TikTok and Instagram. It was just a episode clip from back in, I think, late April, and I did a little bit different editing style. I mean, pretty similar to like other podcast clips anyone's probably seen, but it was, I think, only the first or second one I did like that, and then it popped off both on TikTok and Instagram. I think I got
Uh,
like, I don't know, at least 1,000 or 1,500 or something on TikTok, and then on Instagram I went from six, seven, 800 followers to now I have like, well, I don't know, probably got over 3,000 from that.
yeah.
So it was like a big thing. But then it was also during finals season. So like I was like, okay, well, I need to capitalize on this, but I have like a big paper to write and like a big project. So I was like, oh, I'll take a little break off.
Yeah.
And then it was the beginning of summer, and I was like, oh well, maybe I'll just take another break or
Yeah.
two. And long story short, I kind of ended up breaking way too long, and so I didn't really capitalize on
I
that.
don't know. Yeah.
Um, and so while I am a little, mad at myself for not capitalizing on that and kind of, pushing out content at that time, it still kind of helped me see that I can make a piece of content
Yeah.
that can go viral like that. And so I
Yeah.
think it's important because, I mean, like I said, I don't, know how to edit crazy stuff on Premiere. Like it was just a simple clip that was subtitled and had like a few little like graphics drop down, like nothing crazy. Like anyone could learn how to edit that in
Right.
like 2 hours at most. Like, so I think that's important, is to just kind of like, you never really know. Like the algorithm could
Exactly.
hate you for 3 posts, and then that fourth post it just loves it, and stuff can change. I mean, like you said, like literally overnight.
Yeah.
Like I remember I posted that uh, like on TikTok and Instagram. And then I like later that day or the next day, I was going out to eat with a friend, and all of a sudden I like started getting all these notifications. Like I switched over to my Dreamers TikTok account, and it was like tons and tons of notifications.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, I'm actually like stuff's going crazy for once. And so I was just like sitting there the whole time while we were eating, just like refreshing, responding to comments.
It's crazy.
So yeah, I think just kind of pushing stuff out, because you never know. Like, and like you said, the one that, or one of the ones that did really good was just kind of a re-edited video
Yeah.
of past footage. So I mean, even if you just kind of repurpose content, and that's one of the things that we talk about a decent amount in some of my marketing classes, is repurposing that content.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
Literally.
just re-editing it, doing stuff a little bit different, and then you don't have to fully recreate a whole piece of content. You can get stuff out a lot faster.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to just release stuff and just keep trying, keep pushing, because you really never know when it can
Exactly.
change, and you can grow overnight. But I guess kind of talking about all the different stuff you do with Blender and mixed media. What are some of the, I guess, main programs that you use? I mean, we talked about Blender. I'm sure like Premiere, some kind of Adobe stuff. But what kind of programs do you recommend to people?
Yeah, I mean, I use the whole Adobe suite, so Premiere, After Effects, Photoshop. Blender is probably the number one thing I think I would recommend because it's free, and Adobe is stupidly overpriced. Like you don't need a
Yeah.
yeah, like you don't like. Luckily, like I've had a lot of discounts just because of student stuff.
Same.
So that's cool, but like it's ridiculously overpriced. So like in terms of like you don't need to use Premiere to do anything cool. I'm just used to it. It is kind of industry standard in some things. So like if you're trying to be like an editor, in an industry like that, or Avid. I hate Avid personally. I've used it before, but like to the everyday person just wants to be a content creator in whatever capacity, use whatever you want. But Blender is probably really what I recommend because it's just crazy. It's free. The amount of stuff you can do it is crazy. You can literally treat it as Premiere. You can treat it as Photoshop. You can treat it as whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a game engine. It could be whatever you want. And like that is also like a scary thing to think about, which is what I didn't want to get into originally because I was like, it is so daunting, like the amount of things you can do. But I just learn things like as I need to learn them, and I just try not to think about the vast and stuff, and be on like in awe because it's really cool. But Blender for sure, and like Blender like was something that I tried to like. I get a lot of people like DMing me about how they like want to try Blender, but like it just seems too scary or it seems too much, or they try and they gave up because it just seemed like it was so overwhelming. And like I was the same way. Like I literally tried like on and off like 3 years, like every few months picking up the donut tutorial and like trying that, and just like just feel like I was speaking like a whole different language that didn't even exist like on Earth, and like I just didn't understand it, and I would give up, get burnt out, give up, and never do it. And then a few months ago, like in October of last year, I just like straight up was like, all right, you know what? Like I want to make something cool. It's for interview series we were doing. I wanted something cool with interview series in 3D. I have to learn Blender. So I just like forced myself to do it, and now like I love it. It's like the coolest thing ever. And so yeah, the tutorial we're gonna post soon to kind of go about that, like why you recommend or how we recommend learning it, because like I think like a lot of people struggle with that, and I don't blame them because it is like a very daunting thing, but like it is so worth it to learn because you can do whatever you want. So that I would recommend that Blender, and then whatever you want outside of that, like CapCut. Even if you use CapCut, I started iMovie. iMovie works great for that kind of stuff. Like whatever it is.
So yeah, Blender is something, like I said, I've kind of messed with in the past. I think I first tried it maybe May of 2020, sometimes summer 2020 or 2022. And I just started with like a random tutorial that was like, I don't know, how to make like an Animal Crossing style
Oh yeah, yeah, I
character.
love
And
that
then
one. I
like,
did that one too. Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah,
yeah. The
yeah. I tried
frog,
doing that one.
right?
I think there's that one too.
But it's
There's one where
similar.
it's yeah, I did do, or I started the frog one. But then that was one of the recent ones I did. Yeah, I forgot about the frog, but
Yeah.
I struggled with that one, but I kind of did it. But yeah, there was like an Animal Crossing one, and I just started like straight with that, no other like basic tutorials, and I got farther than I probably thought I could have. But I would definitely recommend starting with something like more of like a beginner one, like the donut. Everyone always talks about the
Yeah,
donut
yeah.
one. I think I started with like it was like a sword, but you first make like a little Minecraft type block thing, and then you do a
Okay.
sword. Um, uh, but yeah, starting off, I kind of just kind of went too much into it with a harder tutorial, and then I was like, I don't understand this, and then I went back to it at the beginning of this year. Started with the easier tutorial, and that helped because I mean, yeah, it can be super daunting just how to like move around the 3D
Yeah. Oh
space and
my
like
god.
and
It's
knowing all the shortcuts and stuff. But
in the beginning, yeah. Well, I was saying it's funny you said the Animal Crossing one because the frog one. So I did a donut, which like I do recommend
mm,
because that kind of teaches you like. At first, I was like, I'm not gonna. I want to make donuts. I want to make sick ass animations. Like, why I learn this? But like, it really does teach you like all the fundamentals. Especially the new one, I think is really cool because like it just teaches you like what's possible, but not going too deep into like the complexities of it. Just kind of like, oh, these are tools. Here's the basics. Here's what kind of teaches you all that kind of stuff. Um, but so I did that, and I did the frog one, and the Animal Crossing one, and then immediately after that is when I made Steve in 3D for the first time. Like
oh well,
this one, like this exact
uh-huh.
model that's printed out was I just took that tutorial, the Animal Crossing one, the frog one, and then I
Mm-hmm.
went right to that because I knew like my one of my first goals was like I want to make Steve in 3D because I have an idea for a 3D character. Like his design before that was really honestly disgusting, so I wanted to redo it. But it was kind of like like a thing. The biggest tip I give is like a good way to motivate yourself to stick with stuff like that. Especially for me, like I have ADHD, like very easy to just like want to hop to a new hobby. Is
Mm-hmm.
like just focus on like I would teach myself a little bit of something, and then I would go try to make something myself, like something that I would
Mm-hmm.
use, like for the brand for Dumb Days, like whether it be like an Instagram post or like that Steve character, like, and that kind of gave me that like accomplishment, even though they were horrible in the beginning of like, oh, I'm actually making cool stuff because like it's stuff I want to make, and like then I would
Mm-hmm.
learn a little bit more, and then I would go back to that. Whereas instead of like just a week of nonstop tutorials, because then you just feel like I'm just learning and I'm learning and I'm learning, and like what am I doing, kind of a thing. So,
Mm-hmm.
but that was just something I thought of when you were talking about that. But that's really fucking cool that you're doing that too. That's funny. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I think it was important for me to, because like I said, I started with like that sword one,
yeah,
and that one, helped going over a lot of the basics and stuff, like the donut. Um, but after a while, like I got to where I needed to go to the next part, and I was like, I'm kind of bored with the sword,
yeah,
and like, some of the next stuff that I need to do, I don't know if that's stuff I want to get into now. So I
right.
just, went to another one. I would just look up stuff that because once you have the basics, you can kind of follow, most simple
Yeah,
tutorials. It might take you longer, but so I was, looking up like that's when I found the Animal Crossing frog one.
yeah.
I'm trying to think. I can probably throw up my examples. I still have the files, so if you're watching the video, they'll be up here.
That's awesome.
Um, but so yeah, I mean, there's, like I mentioned earlier, there's tutorials for like anything, any kind of style, that you want to do. So I mean, once you kind of learn some of those basics, I would recommend trying to go find a tutorial that interests you more. Do that, and then I mean, like you said, yeah, just practicing, doing stuff, messing around. I mean, that's
Yeah,
kind of the goal for anything, whether it's Blender, Premiere, Photoshop. Just messing around can lead to the best results.
exactly.
So I mean, with doing all these different kind of mediums and using these different programs and stuff, do you have like creative blocks often? And if so, like how do you kind of overcome those?
I've definitely had career blocks before. I'm trying to think of like the latest time I've done them. I mean, I think for me, a lot of my career blocks come from like being burnt out on too much of a specific thing. Like even on like the music video grind, like I before now, I mean I'm still kind of on now, but like a few months ago, I was doing like 8 videos at a time, like literally 8 music videos at a time, and they weren't like simple ones. They were like all incorporate mixed media and 3D and all this kind of stuff, and like it was like, and like, I'm the kind of person where like if I'm gonna do something like, especially if it's connected to the brand, like I'm gonna give it 100% of my all, even if it's like a basically a $0 project, because like I just want like I want to be something I'm proud of. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I'll do that. Um, but the way I kind of go through any sort of blocks is kind of like understand like where it's coming from, if it's from a particular kind of content that I'm kind of burnt out with. But I think the biggest thing is like if you're having one of those days, and this is kind of on like more of a circumstantial moment, not of like a 2 week long creative block, like what do I do, like kind of lost kind of a thing. if in the moment you go down and like you're having to go make something, you just don't feel it, like just don't create something. Just like go do something else. Like go have a day where you just go and do nothing outside of creative stuff. Like go to the
Mm-hmm.
beach, go on a walk, go work out, go do something that's just completely separate. And if you're and just don't come back to it until you feel like you need to come back to it. Like, oh, I want to make something. And that works on like the more day-to-day things where like all days are editing, I'm just like, I cannot like like find the strength to print out 100 frames right now and like do stuff. Like I
Mm-hmm.
cannot. So I'll step away. But like if it's on the grander scheme of things where it's like I don't want to make music videos anymore, then I just won't. And, like I'll go do something else. Like, I'll go like focus on other stuff. And I think that's what's cool. Like in modern day, like creatives kind of like us, is like you can do whatever you want. You can go these different avenues as long as like you stay true to like a singular goal. Which for us is kind of like the mission of Dumb Days and the idea of the brand. What like end goal is inspire others to be dumb, which is create, chase their creative passions and not think of things too logically, think of things with their creative instincts. And so it's like, if I like, and I'll have those moments where I go music videos and I'll like make merch and like, we're having a show that's coming up too. So like there's all that kind of stuff. And so it's kind of have these systems where like I'll just naturally like switch to different mediums, and that helps
Mm-hmm.
me kind of like not get blocked because it's kind of like, well, if I'm getting annoyed with this, I'm just going to do this. And like I was kind of in a thing recently where like I actually did stop making a lot of mixed media stuff because I was kind of getting too burnt out on it, and I wanted to focus more on 3D. So like I kind of went in that direction. And so for me, it's just kind of like, on the smaller scales, just literally stepping away and having days off and like having just taking your brain somewhere else and finding inspiration on other avenues. But then for the bigger stuff, it's like if I don't want to do something and I really feel blocked on it, like I'm not gonna like force myself to continue grinding down a path that like I'm not feeling fulfilled, because in your work is not going to be the best stuff. And then it's like, why do it? So um but then there is, of course, the thing of like self discipline, where it's kind of like you could say, "Well, I'm just going to go back to it whenever I feel like it," and then you never do, or it takes
Mm-hmm.
like a month or
Uh,
so. So it is a bit of like of being awareness, like being aware of where it's coming from. Um, but like honestly, like I have nothing to complain. Like I really like play with crayons a lot of the days, so it's like it's really not there's not too much blocks going at all. But if it's a serious block, I just will hop to something else. That's what I
mm-hmm.
recommend.
Say that's what a lot of people that I've talked to say is just to kind of step away from it, or if you do several different things, do something else, do something that you're more interested in.
Yeah,
I mean, even personally, recently I realized that almost all of my content was either like a podcast clip or some kind of like video editing thing that would take me like forever to edit, and I was just tired of only making content in Premiere. So I've
yeah,
been kind of working on more like just Photoshop stuff that I can get out easier, and hopefully that will all come right around the time after this video or this
yeah,
interview is
dope.
posted, and then so I've been kind of working on more content that interests me, because not that I want to stop the videos, but I just needed something more than kind of the same kind of, like, I felt like I was kind of falling into a rut, and I
Exactly.
kind of
Yeah.
wanted to make something different, even, and just be able to get out more content as well. So that stuff, hopefully anybody listening or watching, you'll see that a few days after this gets posted. But I mean, talking about kind of doing what you want to do, working with the type of stuff that you want to work with. Is there any like specific music artist or brand or just a traditional artist that you'd want to collab with on in any type of way in the future?
Yeah, definitely like a lot of music artists. Like my favorite artist right now, who I feel like our styles and mesh well, or we can make some really special, is like Breakins. Like I love him. I think everyone loves Breakins. But I think he's kind of like the kind of artist that I feel like I love his production, I love his music, and I feel like I love like making my videos. I feel like are kind of like I try to make them very addictive, where it's kind of there's a lot of things going on. You want to rewatch it. There's a lot of like small things that happen, and his
Mm-hmm.
production I feel like calls for that because it's like so detailed and so like crazy and so all over the place at times where it's like I can go crazy with that. So I would love that. A lot of artists that'd be cool too. Dominic Fike, I love him. which is a complete different kind of artist than
Uh-huh.
like hyperpop breakdance emo. Um, but brand wise, I don't know. It'd be cool. I mean, we're definitely like the kind of the bigger thing we're doing right now is kind of like, we are focusing on making videos too, music videos, but kind of also branching out our content into different kinds of
Mhm.
series. And like we're starting a podcast series of our own soon, just to kind of tell more stories about like how we do things, and also the stories with artists that we've had, you know our kind of experiences. um, and so wherever that goes down could be really cool, of collaborating with stuff like that. Like, we're throwing a show recently or soon too, to do more of that and collaborate with artists that'd be down. Jaleel is another great artist I feel like I would love to
Mhm.
do a video with.
That'd be
um,
crazy.
but really, I'm just like, I'm down for whatever, like literally anyone that I feel like we mesh well together, like I'm down for it. So
So yeah, I'm interested to see all the collabs in the future. And one thing I wanted to ask earlier, that I kind of just remembered is kind of talking about all the different music videos or like 3D videos and stuff you've done. What has been one of or several of the most like challenging aspects
mm,
when creating these videos, and how have you kind of overcome those?
yeah, I mean, the most challenging thing is, to be honest, like a lot of them are like literally like close to no budget, or like if there is any budget, it's not going towards production, because it's like just going to like for me to be able to eat, or to feed the
Mm-hmm.
crew or something like that. um so I think the biggest thing is like, how do we make something really cool, especially in the stylized route that we want, with basically no creative resources beyond like ourselves. Like, we don't have a crew, we don't have locations, and like film in LA is a very difficult thing where like, they
Mm-hmm.
are very, you can't just like go and shoot something like outside and, in public, like running gun style, usually, because like if a cop sees you, like you are gonna get you need a permit, like, and get a permit is like thousands of dollars in a long process, like
Mm-hmm.
not a thing that you can do. So I think a lot of it's just like, how can we do something really cool with the limited resources we have? But on the same end level, like, like artists like Jacob Gale, who's a really close friend of mine, like all the videos we've done with him, which is like the one that like the mixed media TikToks that went off, that went viral, or like the real one that
Mm-hmm.
I think you saw as well, like that was with him. And that was a video that we shot for literally $0. And it was just him and I. And it was like, how do we like take this artist who I think has really amazing music, and almost, I think, get like 500 listeners at a time, like almost no listeners yet, but it has a potential to be huge. How do they build a world around him with nothing? How to
Mm-hmm.
make people care? Because they will care once they hear it and once they give it a chance. But how do you give them a chance? Because like, you don't need a flashy 30K music video, as a big artist, to make something cool. But like, if a huge artist just had a casual music video, that's fine. But like, if a really small artist had a casual music video, like it doesn't have the same impact. So I think a lot of it is like just figuring creatively, but also like physically, like it's literally usually just me by myself doing all this stuff. And like, I wouldn't classify myself as like as a cinematographer. Like I know how to do it, obviously, because I do it all the time. But like, if
Mm-hmm.
I had the budget to give it to someone else who actually knows what they're doing, like yes, please, I'll throw that money at them instead of me, like
Mm-hmm.
100%. Um, but a lot of it's that, and also just on the editing side, like finding the strength to push through the edits, especially the grind when like there is no budget, and there is like, I am tackling like eight projects at once to stay afloat for the business, is a thing. So, but like also I love creative blocks, like, are not blocks, creative like restrictions of like being put in a box where it's like, we have X amount of money, we have X amount of resources, like we have to make something cool in this realm. What do we do? I welcome that kind of stuff, but it definitely is the biggest struggle, because like if I on the bigger productions, like where I've had more money, and like coming from film school, like I was on, like I've done short films for like 20K, like, and then hopping from that to like, that's obviously going to be, it is a lot more work, but it's also way easier to approach as a director than a $0 video where you just have to like make something cool with literally nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's definitely the biggest thing. But I welcome it though. I kind of like it. It's fun, the chaos.
I can't remember if it was in something I watched or something I read, but yeah, someone was talking about like having like a lower budget or like a small budget for stuff can is obviously a challenge, and people should get paid and want to have enough to eat.
Yeah,
But sometimes having those restrictions, whether it be that or something else, time, whatever, that kind of constrain you can, make you be more creative, make you find a alternate, more interesting, but maybe more difficult, path to a solution. So it can, it can end in a, better product. But I mean, obviously there's stress and stuff that can
Right.
obviously come along with that. But, um, talking about, the stuff you've been able to make with, small to no budgets. We talked about it kind of at the start of the episode, but, wanting to be like a film director,
Mm.
what uh, would be maybe one of, or like a dream film if you had, an unlimited budget. I know you mentioned kind of being interested in horror and stuff. Is
Yeah.
that where you kind of would want to go, or something else?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, I love thrillers. Like, Prisoners is one of my favorite movies ever. If you know that movie, Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal. It's directed by Denis Villeneuve, who does all the Dune movies now, and he's like
Mm-hmm.
probably like my favorite director of all time. Um, yeah, I mean, I have certain ideas that like I think would go crazy. Like, I had this one movie that I had that I wrote a script out of it for my screenwriting class in film school. Who the professor was like one of the original writers on SNL, and she wanted the
Wow.
script where it was like a protagonist versus antagonist, like a hero versus villain scene. So I had
Mm-hmm.
this movie idea where you know Hotline Miami, that video game.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So like that kind of like it's not cyberpunk, but that kind of like Miami Vice style, like bright lights,
Mm-hmm.
but also like really bloody and like violent, like everyone's in the animal masks. I have a movie idea that kind of takes place in a similar realm as that. And so I wrote a scene out of that, like the big climax scene, and I was really proud of it. It was cool. It was like this guy who was kind of like a Punisher kind of style, like revenging his family who this mob boss murdered, and
Mm-hmm.
he is confronting him after like an hour of just like going through this tower, killing all of his henchmen, and he
Uh,
like all he wants is to destroy this guy. So they get in a fight, and he tackles him through the window, and they fall to their death because he just wants to kill him. And
uh,
I gave it to my professor, and she took it and was like, "This is the worst thing I've ever read in my life." She was like, "Why would you ever give this to me? Like, would you think this was okay? Like, are you stupid? Like, why would you ever think this was okay to write?" Because it wasn't a comedy script, and she didn't tell us to write comedy, but that's kind of like her style. So she didn't get
mm-hmm.
it, and like, not to say it wasn't bad, like maybe it was, um, but that was a movie I would love to do. Um, but there actually is something we're kind of in the early works of playing now. Is It was kind of always my plan before COVID, but it was to make a movie myself, like low budget, self
Mm-hmm.
funded feature, to kind of dip my toes in that. And that was kind of been on pause, but it actually is something that might be coming back this year with DUMBDAYS, which could be really cool. Is making a movie, just like a little like a little feature. But no, to get to your question, that Hotline Miami kind of like just violent movies because it
Mm-hmm.
incorporates like music and like that's a huge thing, like kind of like Baby Driver esque, where the music is like a
Mm-hmm.
huge role in the movie. I love stuff like that. So that would be like if I had all the budget in the world, I would do that. But I have a million stories, and like narratives, kind of something that I see like myself returning to in the future. But also like the way I saw it myself is I love like psychology and I love like telling psychological thrillers, but I feel like I need to be older and have more experience with life before I can really like tell sort of the deeper stories that I want to tell. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of all just kind of like I'm building this stuff, I'm learning a lot directing wise, but like later in my life is when I would go back to movies, like as a full director. So
So yeah,
yeah.
I mean, no, I think it sounds great. Like, I mean, I really love like the vibe of Hotline Miami, and kind of that neon kind of bright lights, and then I
Yeah,
know
the
with the
Miami
music.
Vice, like all that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think that'd be sick. And so, I mean, I just think it's funny that your teacher though literally thought like literally basically called you dumb. I mean, he
Yeah,
said
she
are you
did. Yeah,
stupid? Are you
literally.
dumb? Like
Yeah,
so I think it's funny that you were being dumb then to kind of tie
exactly.
into
That's kind of it.
dumb
Yeah.
days. And then also, I mean, I don't know if anyone else watching would know about this, but the other day on YouTube, I got like this random recommendation, and it was a short film called Dear Ivan, I think. I don't
Mm.
know. It has a couple tens of thousands of views. Didn't know the channel, but I clicked on it because I was like, oh, a short film. Let me see. And I didn't fully watch it, but it's like a student film, from my understanding,
Mm.
and it's like a full like hour and a half thing. They did it with like no budget. And so I mean, if anyone kind of is looking for some inspiration there, it's about a like college age kid that gets I think he gets like paid to live stream himself like 24/7, and he like can't turn it off, and obviously like causes a bunch of problems with his life, and he kind of goes crazy. But
Well,
I just thought it was really interesting, like some of the shots they were able to do and stuff. I mean, it's not like, you know, crazy, you know, shot on a 4K red camera, but
right.
it's just really interesting. And I think
Yeah,
that, you know, like we talked about, having like no budget and stuff can make you do stuff, you know, make kind of force you to be more creative in certain ways. So, you know, I
exactly.
think that's um, kind of an interesting thing to go check out. I mean, I haven't
That
even
sounds
fully
cool.
watched it, but I liked what I saw. But I mean, kind of talking about future plans, is there anything else maybe for 2023? Any projects, collaborations, more merch, or something that you kind of want to talk about maybe for the end of this year or sometime next year?
Yeah, I mean, so we're about to approach next month our 2 year anniversary of the brand, so which is cool. So we're gonna throw in a show here in LA for that, which would be really cool. We haven't announced that yet, but it will be announced soon. Um, General plans, I mean, like if I would like tell you like where like what I thought the plans would be like a month ago, would be totally different because like so much has changed this past month, which I'm really
Mm-hmm.
grateful for. um Definitely some really cool collaborations in the process that I'm really proud of, and I'm excited for. Some that I hope will happen, some that might not, because you know these things always never happen until they are happening. um but like definitely like there's certain things on the merch side we want to expand to, and again to like making a Steve plush is kind of a big thing we've been trying to
Oh,
work on
that'd be
now.
cool. That'd be
Yeah,
cool.
Steve plush, a Steve toy. I really love to make like desk knickknacks because like I can't show you my desk right now, but if you're looking at it, it's in all my TikToks. Like I have so much random shit here, so I love to like make like little like Steve toys and that kind of stuff on the merch side, and especially collaborations with a lot of other bigger artists in our kind of creative space. I would love to do stuff like that with. Um, and then yeah, we're also maybe working on like a little like booklet, like kind of like a magazine in a way, which probably be coming in the next 2 months. Um, and then yeah, to see where it takes, because again, it's like so like literally like things are always changing, which is so awesome. But I kind of
Mm-hmm.
just like take what's I have a general plan, but like every time I say like I'm going to do like literally like 4 months ago, 5 months ago, before even the TikTok blew up, I I've been building a video game, like a DUMBDAYS video game that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like interactive magazine where it's like you can experience some of your favorite albums, your favorite like artists, whatever, in this kind of playable world, and also just like have a cool thing and like have fun and that kind of stuff. And I talked about that like 5 months ago, because I was going to do it, and then so much stuff came up because then the TikTok went off, the Instagram went off, and so things just flipped. So it's like it's still gonna happen, but it's like I don't want to get too ahead of myself because like this stuff is
Mm-hmm.
always so crazy. But definitely for sure, what's happening is that I don't know if you saw what we just posted the other day, but we're having oh you did because you shared it, which is amazing. Thank you by the way. The commission sale, because we're right now I'm in like a really small office. Um, I mean, I could show you. This is the full thing. Like it's the size of a closet. Like
Uh-huh.
it's in one of those like public like WeWork kind of spots, like shared office, and we're expanding into a bigger one, like 3 times the size, to have like a dedicated content space where we're going to film. We have a few series in mind beyond just a podcast where we're going to talk about kind of like our behind the scenes experiences and like delve more into like artistry with our friends. Um, but like have like game shows and like mini series and like all this kind of stuff, and just
Mm-hmm.
have built out Dumb Days more as a platform to go to whenever you want to feel this certain feeling of just like of inspiration, and also just like having fun, like turn your brain off and just like enjoy this kind of stuff. So definitely that's going to happen, and that'll be coming in the next month or two. Um, but beyond that, just just seeing what comes up and just like going crazy with it. Like we have like 5 videos in the I'm blanking on the word, not the timeline, but in like whatever. There's 5 videos essentially in the works right now that I'm really really proud of, and we shot one last week with a really talented artist who's going to come out really soon. And I'm like, that's probably one of the most exciting videos I've had in a long time because I just know it'll be crazy. Um, but yeah,
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, I saw your post about like, yeah, wanting to expand. So that's cool that you'll, you know, hopefully be getting into this space where you'll actually, you know, have room to
yeah,
make content and film. Because yeah, I'm sure in there with, everything, that there's not room for like anything
No,
really to
like
breathe. So
I could, if I reach out a little more, I could touch that wall. Like as small it is. So, but
and then yeah, also talking about the video game, that's something I've been thinking about because I mean that's kind of my, I guess, one of my biggest passions. And so I've wanted to try to connect that with the podcast and stuff.
oh, that's awesome.
And so I've been, I mean, I haven't worked on it. I've worked on the ideas of it, but the other day I was like driving back from a long drive, and I just like went on a whole like thing in my head of like planning out this whole game with like different gameplay and stuff. And then I was like, am I ever gonna be able to do that within the next
Yeah,
5 years? And so now I'm leaning towards maybe like first just making kind of more like a mini game style thing,
yeah,
and then maybe in the future kind of making something, because like I don't have much experience, but so I don't know. There might be something, but that's still months away. But yeah, I had to kind of dial it back because I was like,
yes,
I'm never gonna be able to do this all myself. Like I'd have to like pay someone.
right.
So yeah, no, I mean I'm excited to see the interviews behind the scenes and stuff, and kind of to see how everything grows. But I guess lastly, is there anything you wanted to say? Anything we didn't talk about? Any final advice or anything that you'd want to give?
Um, well, first of all, I'm very grateful that you asked me to be on here. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad we are able to talk because I love what you do. Because like I actually do watch a
Thank you.
podcast all the time. I think it's really cool and smart. And like I love like the point of Dumb Days and the way the like what we want to grow end goal is like to be a place to highlight and inspire creators like yourself who like is like doing their own thing like in their room, not in your room, but like you're doing a thing yourself, building this thing yourself, and like and it's really hard. Like it's crazy to me to think because really like I used to go down rabbit holes when I was in high school, like looking at all these different things that got me inspiration, really small YouTube channels, whatever, just like what always inspired me. And like with your content too, it's like all it takes is one person to watch your interview and be inspired, and that's the most incredible
Mm-hmm.
thing. And like even if like the views aren't a million views per video, like even if it's like 10, like, the one of those 10 people could be something like really that content change their lives. And like it's really
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to forget that for I think all content creators out there, especially on the small scale. Even when like I wouldn't consider us on the big scale at all, but like even like a few months ago, and be like only 1,000 followers on Instagram, it's like that was something that like I would get still DMs people that are just like, hey, like this post may have only gotten like 50 likes, but like this person was really inspired by it, and like they were like, I'm gonna give this a chance, and I'm really happy, and like I've been depressed, and like this inspired me to finally do something, and I feel fulfilled. Like it's so easy to forget that, but and the internet can be and social media can be a harmful tool, but also can be the most beautiful thing for stuff like this, which I think is really cool. But I just want to say that. But any final advice I would say is kind of like I think for me, and the thing I've seen like from growing up with friends that are artists and like going to film school and seeing filmmakers then and filmmakers now, and also friends that I met, it's like if you have an idea, just do it. Because like people approach me and they're kind of like, how do you like post so much content all the time? Which I don't even think we post that much content, but it's like, how do you like are on top of it with all the music videos you do? And it's like how is it so good? Like how are you still doing that? It's like I've failed a million times. You've never seen
Mm-hmm.
any of it though. You've only seen things that have kind of worked. Um, so I think it's like if you have an idea, just go for it, try it. Put like just don't be afraid to fail because you will fail, and that's how you learn. And so no matter what it is, like I wasn't born with special talent to do this mixed media stuff, to do edits, whatever. I've put in the hours and I've failed and I've put myself out there to fail so many times and embarrassed myself and gotten in really bad situations from failing. But it's taught me so much. And that's what like a teacher I had when I was younger gave me the advice of like to see filmmaking and creativity and whatever as like if we were like in the medieval times and our job was a blacksmith and all we did every single day was like had a sword and we just like figured out how to make the sharpest sword possible and be really good at that, like, and that's the way you kind of have to see being a creator in general, or any sort of creative is like you were just constantly just like chiseling away at this thing trying to make it the best thing possible, and you were learning so much, and like it all adds up in the end. And like I look at myself and like I still want to go so much further with kind of my effects and my ability, but it's like I've taught myself so much in the past year, and that's by actually just forcing myself to do it instead of like a year and a half ago with Dumb Days, like figuring out like all these different avenues, kind of getting like analysis paralysis of like what do I do, like how, like, will this gather attention? Like, will this, like, is it worth to go with, like, just thinking so much, like too much about like the brand, which is so ironic because the name and what we're literally trying to inspire is that. But like, just go do it, because like there's also this thing of like people always talk about like being a creator where it's like you'll have this idea, like the video game idea like you've had, like I don't even know what it is, but like you love it, it's a great idea. Like someone a month, like you could see someone like 2 months from now like post a TikTok about that same exact idea, and it's not because they stole your idea. It's like you know, like Rick Rubin that talks about this, like this idea that like the idea is out there in the universe and someone's going to grab it and take it, but really it's
Mhm.
like no one ever is truly that unique. If they think they are with their ideas and their art, they're too narcissistic. Like we're all like
Mhm.
the same species. Like we do think of things similarly. And so it's like I've had many situations where I thought of like, oh, this would be such a cool idea for a show. This would be such a cool idea for content. Like I gotta do this. And then I never did. And then a month later someone did that and then it went viral. And I was like, damn.
Mhm.
And like I wasn't like, oh, they copied me, they stole everything I did. Like, no, no. They just had a
Mhm.
good idea and they acted on it and I didn't, and that's my fault. So long story short, just like if you whatever you are, like especially if you're like just starting, like go do stuff, because it is so much harder to get things moving when you're standing still than when you're actually creating stuff. And everything that's worked out for me and for the brand has been through just the active art of just like forcing myself to create and document me creating, just like keeping the ball rolling and not stopping, even like when I've had situations where like I haven't been feeling the best or like whatever it is. Like even the week that like the Instagram reel blew up a few weeks ago, I had the flu that week, like the day after it went viral.
Mhm.
And like kind of what you were talking about where it's like you kind of feel like you have to keep the ball rolling. And it was like I gotta make more stuff, but like I literally have a fever in bed right now. Like I can't fathom making like trying to figure out Instagram shitty in app editor like right now. Like I can't do that,
Uh-huh.
but I force myself to do it, and then it still works. So it's like um, if you want to succeed, no matter what it is, clothing, art, music, writing, and even your own jobs outside of creativity, it's like just put in the work and just do it, and just know you will fail and welcome that, and just don't overthink it. It's be dumb is the thing. So that's what I would say. That was kind of a rant, but I think I hope
No,
it's
I mean
helpful.
you're good. I think that's a really important thing. I think I might have talked about it on like a recent episode or two, so I won't try to retrace my steps as much. But I mean, yeah, just trying stuff. Like if you go to my page right now and just scroll down, yeah, there's not too many posts, but just scroll down to when I started. It is god awful. Like the first clip, like I didn't even make it like full screen. It's just kind of there. It says Dreamers and just has like a blank or like a basic color background. It does not look good. But at the time, I was like, this will be okay. And then like
Yeah,
the all the thumbnails used to just be like kind of the baby blue color from my logo with like a font and then like a person's logo or a picture of them, and it did not look good at all, really. And then finally, after a couple months, I was like, okay, I need to, you know, well, I fixed the clips pretty early on because I was like, this does not look good. But then like the thumbnails, I eventually got better, and then I switched them up again, and now I'm not 100% sticking with these forever, but I kind of found a style that you know, I can say that I'm like proud of or like I'm happy with putting out, because some of that stuff from before, like it was kind of low effort because I was just like, okay, I got the episode edited, I got the questions wrote, I did the interview, I'll just put it out, like whatever, I'll worry about the other stuff later. And then yeah, kind of finally pushing myself to try new stuff, try to make more interesting backgrounds and stuff
yeah,
that kind of look more cohesive. Took a little longer than it probably should have, but I'm definitely a lot happier with the content I put out now than when I started. And I hope in a year from now to be like, okay, this content was okay, but the content I'm putting out now in 2024
right.
is way better. And so, yeah, I think just trying is. I mean, like I hate to do like the Shia LaBeouf, the just
Just
do
do it.
it, the
Yeah,
Nike. But I mean, I do think that is, I mean, probably the best
no, that's true.
advice that I know as an artist is like I think like you said, like you're gonna fail. It might be terrible, but the second time you do it, the third time you do it, the 12th time you do it could be amazing. So
Yeah,
like, just you learn something, like you said with the sword, like you'll learn something how to make it sharper like every day. So even if you don't like the end result, you still probably learn something along the process that will help you create the amazing piece of art or content or whatever
Exactly.
in the future. And I also wanted to touch on, at the beginning, you talked about, kind of uh, like getting support and like people, reaching out and like I think, like while I'm still kind of on the smaller side, occasionally people will DM me or, comment, be like, hey, like I really love what you're doing. And like that, feels so good. Like, yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
cool to have, a million views a video, but like just have one person that, the day before I had no clue who they were, to reach out and like take the time to be like, hey, like I really appreciate you and what you're doing, like that,
Yeah. It's the best thing.
means, yeah, it means the
Yeah.
world to me. So like, um, just because, being a smaller creator, there's still so many things that can really help push you and motivate you, and it's not always about like, the likes or engagements and views. While that stuff is definitely important, and I do want to get more of that, um, like even just the little things can be, so impactful. So I think that was a important thing to bring up. But um, I appreciate you for taking the time. It's been about an hour or so. I'm glad I was able to get you on, and I definitely want to have you on in the future.
Oh yeah, man.
So can't wait to see everything that you've got coming with your channel and future videos and merch and stuff. So I appreciate you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, man. You too.